Ethics and ownership. What are the learning objectives? Show understanding of the need for and purpose of ethics as a computing professional. When you become a computer professional, there are certain things to follow. Ethics. Ethics means what what your conscience says, what is good and what is bad. Also, for sort of set of ethics that are formulated by the world accepted, respected uh, organizations. So we'll be learning those things. In case you become a computer professional, then you know what to follow, what to do, and what not to do. To understanding of the need to act ethically and the impact of acting ethically or unethically for a given situation. There are many situations, different to each other, each one different to each other, and you should be prepared to take the correct decision. Because you will know in this lesson, there are some examples. If you take the wrong decision, you can end up in disaster. To understanding of the need for copyright legislation. What is copyright? The proof of ownership and the right that the owner has. And legislation is like registration. You register with the copyright, and the legislation means the law regarding copyrights. To understanding of the different types of software licensing and justify the use of a license for a given situation. Software, you never get the ownership. To buy a package from even Microsoft, pay the full amount even, you don't become the owner. You get the right to use it. That is what you call the license to use it. You're not the owner. And there are mainly 4 types of software, which some are free, some you have to use it free and then check whether if it is okay, you can buy it. The others you have to completely buy it from the beginning. You get the source code. Some you don't get the source code. So various types of softwares you have to learn. And also the choice of software. What is the type of software you're going to use? And the justification. How to justify your choice? Why you chose that software? And so understanding of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence also you will learn something from this chapter. Ethics. Number of definitions of ethics. There are so many number of definitions, but following are just 3 examples. Ethics is the field of moral science. So now what is moral science? Concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior. There are laws which prohibiting certain acts, but these are not mentioned in law, but your conscience will say the principles of right and wrong behavior, how you behave. That's a moral science is that. It's a field of moral science. Then another definition is ethics are the moral principles by which any person is guided. Moral principles which will guide any person. Ethics are the rules of conduct recognized in a particular profession or area of human life. So this is the one we're going to study in this chapter. Ethics are the rules of conduct recognized in a particular profession or area of human life. So under that you get moral principles, concern right or wrong. Moral principles. Is it right or wrong? To jump a queue, is it right or wrong? Right? Like that. You might find that sometimes in a supermarket or mall, shopping mall, there are 3 cashiers or 4 cashiers and only There are more counters, cashier counters left unattended, and then there are long queues, the cashiers, the checkout. Then all of a sudden, a new cashier will come to ease the situation. So when that new cashier comes, and there are about 10 people in one queue, who joins? The last one. It's not the done thing, no? Last one goes and gets first the new cashier, whereas the second, third, fourth, all those are still waiting, who came before him. So things like that are not uh, mentioned in law. There is no law against that kind of thing. You can't take any court action, you can't complain to police. But your conscience, your own conscience should tell, if you have a good conscience, your parents have taught you and school has taught you and you yourself think and come to conclusions, you should not do that. You must give the one before you came or the one right in front of the queue the chance of getting served before you. So those things are moral principles concern right or wrong. You are the judge, but others will judge if you do the wrong thing. The concept of virtue, behavior showing high moral standard, is linked to what is considered to be right. So when you do things like that, when you do things rightly, you become a happy person. That is true. To jump a queue, you're happy at that moment because you are late for something or the other. But later your conscience will prick you. Oh, I didn't do the correct thing. And it will go on for some time. And it's like torture. You'll be suffering. What is right and wrong can be considered from one of the following viewpoints. What are they? So, what is right and wrong? Who says now? If I say this is wrong, someone else might say no, that is right because the one who goes to the next cashier first is the one to be served. So, who is there? Who is there to tell what is right and what is wrong? Draw line and say this side is wrong, that side is right. You can make use of these uh, facilities like philosophical. Philosophy is an activity people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves. Fundamental, like basic truths about themselves, the world in which they live, and their relationships to the world and to each other. So these are very broad perspective, broad. It's not clearly defined, but like religious, right? Like religious, you would have heard about great philosophers, philosophy, philosophers. What is the philosophy of it? Like that, those who have learned that. So there are things to guide you. Then, of course, religion is there. Religion will tell you to a great extent what to do and what not to do. And legal, the laws of the land or your country will tell you you should not do this. You will be punished if you do it. Pragmatic, relating to matters of fact or practical affairs, often to the exclusion of intellectual or artistic matters. Pragmatism could be defined as applying common sense. So relating to matters of fact or practical affairs, often to the exclusion of the intellectual or artistic matters. So if you say common sense, yeah, that would be sufficient. Common sense. Use common sense, you will know what is right and what is wrong. Then the computing professional. Professional persons are expected to act ethically. They actually not only computer professionals, in any profession, there are like codes of conduct and how you should conduct yourself. do's and don'ts. The standards are mentioned and established. They can receive guidance on ethical behavior by joining an appropriate professional organization. Such an organization will have a code of conduct that will include reference to ethical practice. So when you join a new profession, you can join those bodies like organizations. You start like teaching is a profession, engineering, medicine or doctor, lawyer. There are many professions. There are professional bodies or organizations. They will guide you. When you join them, you will get. Now, this BCS is British Computer Society, very well respected and old, established institute. BCS Code of Conduct under 4 headings, which will deal with public interest. First, it is a public interest. You have to consider the public, professional competence and integrity. That is, you have to be competent. You can't just ignore and neglect yourself and you become incompetent. No. And also integrity, the validity, right? How valid are you? Then duty to relevant authority. Any profession, there is a relevant authority. Like now if you say education, the ministry is there. Like that, you have any profession, there is a relevant authority, can't be independent. So you have duties, certain duties towards that. The duty to the profession. The profession itself, you have some duties. You have to carry out those things. IEEE is Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, like CS and ACM. Those are some institutes like Association of Computer Mechanics, like that. You have the established institutes, they are accepted by all. Joint Task Force, so all of them, these institutes got together, Joint Task Force Software Engineering Code of Ethics defines 8 principles defined as follows. 1 to 8 you have, starting with public. Try to remember, starting with the public, ending with self. Self is last, no? Normally you say you and I. Always I come last, something like that. So public, begin with public and then end with you. Publicly, the software engineers shall act consistently with the public interest. Consistently, you have to, always you have to think of the public interest. You can't do anything against the public interest when making software. Client and employer. Software engineers shall act in a manner that is in the best interest of their client and employer, consistent with the public interest. So, what is this? Software engineer will have a client. He's creating software for the client. And he's not on his own, he's working for an employer. He's working for an employer. So you have 2 to consider. Then product. The software product. Software engineers shall ensure that their products and related modifications meet the highest professional standards possible. Highest professional standard. You can't just do and get away. No? Just do the minimum and get away. You have to follow the standards. Judgment. Software engineers shall maintain integrity and independence in their professional judgment. So while you are working, you have to take decisions. You have to judge. due a certain situation. There are certain situations you have to take a decision, then how? Your judgment. You have to maintain the integrity and independence. Integrity is your validity, like your loyalty, which side is your loyalty, and also the independence. Like if the boss says it's wrong, if boss says something which is wrong, then if you are independent, you can find out. You can tell him, point out. You can point out to the boss, say it's wrong. Shall we do it this way? Suggest. But if not, you will just do. You just do it, isn't it? Uh, because they are not independent. So in today's context, you need a lot of people, even for a government, if the government does something wrong, there's hardly anyone to say it's wrong and who also go on doing it. Instead of that, the professional, if you are a real professional, you must say it's wrong, I can't agree with it, I'm leaving and leave immediately. That kind of thing should be there. The management. Software engineering managers and leaders help subscribe to and promote an ethical approach to the management of software development and maintenance. The managers and leaders. Leaders mean like there are project managers and project leaders. They shall subscribe to and promote. We have to follow and promote an ethical approach to the management of software development and maintenance. Profession. Software engineers shall advance the integrity and reputation of the provision consistent with the public interest. Then colleagues. So this provision, reputation of the provision, how do you maintain? Like if someone says, oh, there's shame for the provision also, then that is bad. You must uphold the standard like a real professional. That's why when you are a real professional. Otherwise, they say unprofessional. Then 7, colleagues. What about colleagues? Colleagues are those the ones who are working with you, the staff. Software engineers shall be fair to and supportive of their colleagues. Fair to them, you have to be fair, you can't be unfair, and also supportive of their colleagues. When they are in trouble, you have to go to their rescue. And finally, yourself. Software engineers shall participate in lifelong learning regarding the practice of their profession and shall promote an ethical approach to the practice of the profession. Engineers shall participate in lifelong learning regarding the practice of their profession and shall promote an ethical approach to the practice of the profession. That means you have to, it's a lifelong learning. You have to keep yourself with the latest uh, findings, latest discoveries, standards, and various things. You have to update yourself. You can't just wait saying that, okay, I know my profession. That is enough. Other, the 8 principles. 8 principles defined by these, the Joint Task Force Software Engineering Code of Ethics. Despite the difference in the detail, the codes are consistent with regard to the following. You take details, they are not consistent. It looks like they are not consistent with regard to the public interest or good is a key concern. Yes, you saw that several places public consistent with public interest came. Several places. So the public interest or public good is a key concern. Then codes, the codes present fundamental principles, basic, basic principles. The professional is expected to exercise their own judgment. You can't be slave to another boss or some colleague or something. You have to use your own judgment and independent, be independent. Professional should seek advice if unsure. If you are not sure, sometimes taking a decision, you may get the advice of another from the authority or some colleague or somebody who is capable. Here is a worked example 10.01 applying ethics to a software engineering scenario. In a real life scenario, there might be many individual clauses that should be considered when a judgment is to be made. For example, let's consider the following scenario. You are employed by a company that develops software. You're working on a software engineering project to be delivered to a client. One day, the project manager states that the project is running behind schedule. As a result, the time allocated for testing of the software will be limited to 1 week rather than the 1 month that was stated in the project plan. As a professional, you could be guided in your thinking by referring to the 8 principles listed above from the IEEE CSACM Joint Task Force Software Engineering Code of Ethics. Let's see the notes where I have given some points to consider. I would take you to my notes here. There is a thing called Gantt chart. What is Gantt chart? You may be knowing. It's a project planning tool where you have your the broken into the full task is broken into smaller sub, and those tasks are given dates like target date planning from January to March. And research this need not be wait till end of this phase. Before the end of this phase can begin. So likewise, you have the project and then delivery will be in July, the final one. This is not a software, mm, really is a software thing, but something close to it. Example, so you have finishing here. But you see, original plan, now according to the question here, result the time allocated for testing of the software will be limited to 1 week rather than the 1 month that was stated in the project plan. So in the project plan, this is a project plan. So here it was one. Let's say, imagine this is the testing. This is the testing, and it's uh, spread out for 1 month. But since now you're getting late. Now, this one got late, so this one got late to start. Not in February, it came in beginning March. This went to April. And so when that happens, this is also extending. So as a result, this got late, but you can't. The manager says, okay, have only 1 week for that. Like this, 1-4, analysis 1-4, like 30th May, design 30th May, coding. Those days are there. These are given in different in the year, January and 2019. But if they are very in detail, if they are in detail, then you will have the date also. So what happens then? Considering them in turn, your thinking might be as follows. One, you could probably rule out any immediate need to consider public interest. So public interest will not come right now. Okay? Nothing will happen to the public. You would recognize that the end result might be the client being delivered a substandard product that would reflect badly on the reputation of your employer. So if you check client, second point is client and employer. Likewise, it goes. First one was public, and we found that the public is state. Second one is the client. You would recognize that the end result, you are giving a substandard product because you are not doing the proper testing. You are doing a hurried test. Thirdly, you would identify the primary cause of concern as being the likely poor quality product. Like what is the third one? Product. The product is substandard. And the is judgment. You would realize that you needed to make a judgment as to what action, if any, you should take. Management. You might identify the secondary cause of concern as being one of poor management. Yes, that is a concern there. You would have some concern concerning how delivering a product with many errors would cause your profession be judged badly. But this would not be a primary concern. So right now, that won't be a primary concern. You would be concerned about your colleagues being put under pressure to deliver in an unrealistic short time scale. That is true. The colleagues will be under stress, under pressure, because 1 month's work to be done in 1 week. Then finally, yourself. You would recognize that this was not an issue relating to your professional development. Yourself means the last one is your development of yourself, to develop yourself and keep up to date. You would now consider what action to take. This is where you would need to make a judgment. You might consider 4 possible scenarios. Firstly, you decide that this unprofessional behavior by the project manager must be challenged. Now see what I told you about professionalism. You can't just because he's a manager, you can't just bow down and do what he says. You have to make a judgment. See? Challenge. Following this challenge, the decision is reversed. So that is the very first scenario. You challenge and then the manager reverses and takes some other action. What is a possible other action is to get the delivery date extended. You might have to pay. You might have to pay compensation for extending the delivery date. The client will say that you have to pay a penalty because we were expecting to open the shop or open the company on a particular date, and we needed the software. So anyway, whatever it is, that the decision here, you have to take the judgment. 2 is you decide that this professional behavior by the project manager must be challenged. However, your protests are ignored. So that's the second scenario. You object or you protest, but ignored. The manager doesn't take any notice. Third one, you decide that no challenge is needed because although the testing will not be properly completed, there will always be the opportunity to remedy the remaining errors in the code through routine maintenance following product installation. Because after the installation, you will be doing routine maintenance. So at that time, you can, those mistakes will come and you can correct it. The fourth one is you decide that an immediate protest would be useless, but you intend to raise the matter at a later time when, when the errors in the product have become evident. So when they become evident, then you can raise your protest. There is another hidden thing here. When the error. If the errors don't arise, then there is no issue at all. No, that also you must consider. The first scenario is the ideal one. So out of the four that we discussed now, the first one is the one where the appropriate ethical action leads to a fully tested product. In the second scenario, the professional has acted ethically, but this has had no effect. So as far as you're concerned, you're okay. The question is now whether anything else ought to be done. The remaining two scenarios are where unethical behavior leaves the outcome of an unsatisfactory product being provided for the client. So just because now in the third one, just because errors don't come during the maintenance period, that doesn't mean that the product is good, because the proper testing was not done. And here, you're waiting till something happens. Right? So that is not a good product at all provided to the client. Right? So the first one is the best. 0.03, the public good. In different parts of the IEEE, TSACM Joint Task Force Software Engineering Code of Ethics Code, there is reference to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. There is reference to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. There are sub things which are mentioned: the health, safety, and welfare of the public. The public interest has to be with the aim of providing public interest. Satisfying, not against public. The public good has to be good for the public. The public concern, always public, concerning the public. What do they want? The BCS code has the statement that the professional should have due regard for public health, security, and well-being of others and the environment. Even the environment, there are certain things which can harm the environment. So that is also coming. There have been a number of incidents where extremely large sums of money were wasted because of rather simplistic errors. This is going to be interesting. Let's look at, there are three cases mentioned here. This is the first one. Disasters. The first example is the Ariane 5 rocket, which exploded 40 seconds after blast off in 1996. Approximately $500 million worth of investment in development, scientific equipment, and launch costs were wasted. Just 40 seconds. The problem was caused by a line of code that tried to convert a 64-bit floating point number into a 16-bit integer. See, you understand this story better than non-computer science students. Well, we have done this. 64-bit floating point and 16-bit integers, we have done. So the resulting overflow crashed the program, and as a result, also the rocket. See? No proper testing done. Otherwise, they would have caught it beforehand. Then the second example also relates to space exploration. The NASA Mars climate orbiter. Project centered on a space probe that was due to orbit Mars to study the climate. The probe reached Mars but unfortunately failed to get into orbit. The cause of the problem was that all of the software was supposed to use the SI system of units for all calculations. So SI is not the imperial, the other one, right? Standard, some international, something. This is a French name, SI system of units for calculation. One group of software engineers use the imperial system of units. Imperial is the one that we know, like the standard ones. But these two, SI and imperial, are two different ones. This mismatch only caused a problem at the stage where the calculations concerned with achieving orbit around Mars were executed. This time, the loss to the public purse was $125 million. So again, no proper testing. Then this case, the third one. 2011, the UK government scrapped the national program for IT in the NHS, which is National Health Service, which had been commissioned in 2002. Commissioned in 2002. When was it scrapped? 2011, 9 years later. The project failed to produce a workable system. The estimated amount spent on the program was 12 billion pounds. Can you imagine that? 12 billion pounds. The initial estimated cost was less than 3 billion pounds, which was initially estimated at 3 billion, but cost them 12 billion. In examples like this, the software engineers are not to blame. But if correctly applied, the part of the code of ethics specifically targeted at project management would not have allowed this type of failure to occur. So finally this was scrapped, not even used. Right? So that is the situation. There was no public concern relating to the ethics of the endeavor itself. This project itself, there was no public concern, all three. In contrast, there are many areas associated with computer-based systems where there is public concern for the nature of the endeavor, or at least about what it has to have, what it has led to. Here are some examples. First, powerful commercial companies being able to exert pressure on less powerful companies to ensure that the powerful companies' products are used when alternatives might be most suitable or less costly. So they are exerting pressure, powerful commercial companies. They are trying to sell their own products which are more expensive, but not essentially the best. There can be less costly products which are more effective, but they're not allowed. Then companies providing systems that do not guarantee security against unauthorized access. Some systems provided by these companies, but they don't guarantee any security against unauthorized access. So what's the point? Organizations that try to conceal information about a security breach that has occurred in their system. So they are hiding, like Gmail or some other company, cloud company. There has been a hacking incident where some data has been exposed or something like that. They are not They are not revealing that. They are not revealing about that. So that is not, they are concealing. That is not correct. Private data by individuals to other individuals being stored and made available to security services. There are many companies which are selling email addresses, isn't it? Even where they offer you 500 million um, 500 email payment. So in that case, that is not correct. Right? So social media sites allowing abusive or illegal content to be transmitted. There are social media sites, you know what it is. Uh, they now there are people who post abusive. Abusive means like scolding or unfair statements about people. They post and or illegal content. There can be some illegal content also. And if they allow it, social media rights allowing, then that's also not correct. Search engines providing search results with no concern about the quality of the content. So there are search engines which just give out the information to the readers or visitors without concerning about the genuineness of the content. It is a formal recognition of ownership, the right of the owner, copyright. Others can't copy. That is the meaning. Others can't copy his work. Of course, there are exceptions, but the general term is that general meaning is copyright is only the owner can do anything with it. Others can't copy. If an individual creates and publishes some work that has an element of originality, that's the original. You can't just take from something, some copy and then just change a line or two. That won't do. The individual becomes the owner and can therefore claim copyright. So if you create something original, then you can claim copyright. An exception is if the individual is working for an organization. So now this you have to understand. An organization can claim copyright for a published work if it is created by one or more individuals that work for the organization. So imagine that the Microsoft Word is created by a team of software engineers. They've done it and then they've created selling. Who has the copyright? Not the employer, and not the employee, not the software engineer, but the employer. Microsoft Corporation has it. Copyright cannot apply to an idea and it cannot be claimed on any part of a published work that was previously published by a different individual or organization. Two things here. First one is copyright cannot apply to an idea. If you just have an idea only, you can't have copyright. Others can do it. Which means now for ideas, you have another thing. Other formalities like patent or something, the idea. But for copyright, you have to produce it in real, not just the idea. And the other one is, and you can't claim copyright for a part of a published work that was previously published by. So that means like copying, no? To copy, you can't. You have to be original. Key term copyright. Let's go through it again. A formal recognition of ownership of a created and published work. Published also. That's be published. Copyright can apply to any of a literary, which means written work, a musical composition, film, a music recording, a radio or TV broadcast, a work of art, work of computer program. That also comes in. You can have copyright. Typical copyright laws will include a requirement for registration. You have to register. You can't just create something and then keep it yourself and take action against somebody who does something similar or copies from her. You have to register. Then only the validity, it will become valid, the ownership. Recording the date of creation of the work. The date of the creation also has to be mentioned. A defined period when copyright will apply. So there are certain, it's not dealt here, but like 10 years or 15 years or whatever, that also has to be defined. You can't have it indefinitely, forever you can't. A policy to be applied if an individual holding copyright dies. What happens when the owner dies? What happens? Who gets the right, or will it become free for everyone? Things like that have to be stated. An agreed method for indicating the copyright. For example, the use of the C, that symbol, copyright symbol, you may have noticed where there is copyright. This symbol is also there, the C. Software licensing. Licensing, there are many types, right? Commercial software, shareware, freeware, free software, there are many things like that. Freeware. So let's learn them individually. Commercial software, that is for sale. Commercial sale, no trading. If you buy a computer, you become the owner. But if you buy software, you do not become the owner. The ownership remains with the vendor. You have paid for an end user license that allows you to use the software. That's all. Then the options. A fee is paid for each individual copy of the software. So if you buy one copy, one license, maybe 20,000, there are concessions like if you buy for a certain number, right? If you buy 10, then that will not be 10 times. If it is 20,000 into 10 will not be 2 lakhs. They will give a concession. That is also there. But you have to pay. Fee is paid for each individual copy of the software. The company might have the option of buying a site license. This is what I said. Site license, which allows a defined number of copies to be running at any one time. 10 copies or whatever, depending on the number of users. Then you have to buy that license. Otherwise, if you buy only one, then you can install it only on one computer. Special rates might be available for educational use. That is also there. Keep in mind. If you want to buy software, you can get a concession under educational use. Shareware. Shareware. On a trial basis for a limited time. This is given on a trial basis. You don't pay until you are satisfied. Full package available at the time or a limited version of it. Example, beta test version of new software. So you create a new software and then beta means alpha testing, beta testing. We may have done it, I think. If not, just a little bit of information here. The beta test will be the software is given to a selected number of people, number of selected users, and given free for testing. So they have to test and then give a feedback. Freeware, limited version of a full package or possibly an earlier version. No time limit for the time limit for the license. It's free, but limited version, not the full version. Limited version of a full package or possibly an earlier version. Full package, which is earlier version, not the current one. And no time for the license, no time limit. Commercial software can be justified. You see, commercial software can be justified if the software is available for immediate use. Now, this is the justification. Justification means like choose and then you have to justify why. Why did you use commercial software? Then these are the reasons. The software is available for immediate use and provides the functionality required. The software has been created to be used in conjunction with already installed software. So that is compatible and you can work with that. There will be continuous maintenance and support provided. That is important. Otherwise, you buy it and you don't have the commercial software, no source code. I'll come to that in a while. So without the source code, you can't maintain. You have to get the support and assistance of the vendor. So if that is given, yeah, then you can buy commercial software. Otherwise, not justified, not not good to buy. Take advantage of a shareware offer might allow suggestions to be made as to how the software could be improved. So sometimes you might take the advantage of a shareware offer, then it might allow suggestions to be made as to how the software could be improved. You can use it and see. Freeware can often offer sufficient functionality to serve users' limited needs. So it's about the shareware, it's about the freeware. So justification. Now let's see the differences and all that. Open, free license. Before that, I will tell you what happens here. Now shareware. I'll give a clue as to how to remember this shareware, freeware, those things. Sometimes it's confusing. Students mix up. Shareware, I'll give one example, then it will make it easy for you to remember. Imagine that when you go to a mall, a shopping mall or a supermarket, you will get somebody offering you a piece of cake or some snack, a drink, a beverage or something, or a toothpaste or some beauty thing, saying that you try it and you so that you will buy it. If you are satisfied, you can buy it. Otherwise, it's free, that part. So if you are given a piece of cake, you don't get the full cake to try out, right? That you have to buy if you're satisfied with a small piece and share. So sharing is like you don't get the full cake because there are others who are waiting to taste it. Taste it, and then if you are satisfied, you buy it, and you don't get the full that 1 month member on a trial basis. The trial part is free, but if you are satisfied, you have to buy the whole thing. Otherwise, you can't. One thing is you will not get the full version; it will be limited, and yeah, using open now we come to open or free licensing. Open source software. You know about open source already. Shareware is commercial software which is made available on a trial basis for a limited time. So shareware is coming under commercial software because you have to buy later, but made available on a trial basis for a limited time. You try. If you are happy or satisfied, then buy it. This is the price. Free software. Freeware. This is also called freeware. Might be free software is freeware, might be a limited version of a full package or possibly an earlier version, as suggested earlier, part of it. That is free. Then you have there's a task, carry out a search to investigate some of the software available under the open license. So this you can do by a Google search, you can find out. Then go through these, uh, the definitions will make it easy to remember. Open source software. Software provided with the source code. Now see, you will have to note this down. Source code is given. The free software provided with the source code when the user is free to use it as they wish. So these two, the source code is given and this is free. Shareware. Software provided free of charge for a limited period, but no source code provided. Freeware. Software provided free of charge with no time limit for its use, but no source code provided. So these two, no code. Yeah. These two, you get the source code. That way you can remember. Otherwise, get mixed up. Let me come to artificial AI. Depends on many other disciplines, including philosophy, psychology. Philosophy we mentioned earlier also. Psychology. Neuroscience. Neuroscience is science of the brain, concerning the brain, the neurons and all that, how it works, neural networks and all that are there. Psychology is like the mind, regarding the mind. Then mathematics used. Linguistics means concerning languages. And control engineering is like manufacturing and all that. Computer control, this control is computer control. The only definitions of AI that are acceptable are at the same time so generalized that they are not very practical. The only definitions of AI. So they are not practical. The following is a typical example. AI concerns the use of a computer or computer controlled device to perform tasks normally associated with intelligent behavior by humans. So you can see that when you say define, the following is a typical example. Or AI concerns the use of a computer or computer-controlled device to perform tasks normally associated with intelligent behavior by humans. So it's like imitating. It's imitating the intelligent behavior of the human. We will consider 5 aspects of intelligent human behavior and discuss some applications of AI that mimic this human behavior. Mimic is imitating. Mimicking is imitating. There are 5 aspects. So let's look at it. Problem solving. One example is the development of a system that can play chess. This can be considered as displaying artificial intelligence, but this is only demonstrated because the rules of chess are limited. A computer with sufficient storage capacity and processing power can investigate so many options for a possible sequence of moves that a human cannot complete. So, computer is capable to look ahead and see so many number of moves, what will happen. Whereas for the human, it's limited. A second example is the traditional form of expert system that, for example, has been developed to aid medical diagnosis. Expert system to diagnose sicknesses. This is supplied with data and rules from living medical experts. So the systems are fed with the necessary data and information from the living medical experts. The expert system contains more knowledge than is possible for an individual doctor to have. So individual doctor, obviously we know that the capacity you can't have, mm, say, there are specialists dealing in chest or lung, brain or something. They are limited. That's why it's specialized. Whereas computers, the capacity can be increased. However, if the expert system is given a new situation that is not covered by the data and rules it has been given, it cannot attempt a new or creative approach, unlike a human. Like a human, the doctor will, even if he was not taught in the medical college about a new situation, he can take a decision. That is a difference. Then comes the linguistics. Voice recognition and voice synthesis techniques are already developed and in use. So, voice synthesis and voice recognition. The voice recognition, the sound is input and recognized. The voice synthesis is voice is synthesized, the sound is synthesized, and one example is if you phone a helpline where you might be answered by a computer. Provided that you answer questions clearly, the computer might be able to identify your needs and pass you on to an appropriate human who can help. However, this is a long way away from the computer itself creating new questions based on your answers and providing the help you need. Like bots you have seen, chat bots and all that. The right now here you get something popping up and asking you to give your question and all that. Those are computer programs, right? Not really someone chatting. So mostly now AI is being used mostly uh, for, for major things like popular programs, even chat, what is it, Snapchat, Chat GPT, those things also they use AI. But computer is not geared right now to change the answer, change the questions, and depending on the answers given by the human, it cannot still do a perfect change of path in asking questions. But whereas human can change all of a sudden, depending on the human answer, the other end, if a human is listening to it, he might change and ask some out of the way question. It might help. Computers are not capable yet. Then comes perception. Traditionally, robots have been used in manufacturing processes. Here, the robot is programmed to perform repetitive tasks. The action of the robot each time is triggered by some mechanism. Especially repetitive tasks, robots are very useful. However, if anything unexpected happens, the robot continues to operate as normal, cannot adjust immediately, regardless of any damage being caused. Whatever, knocking or putting down things and all that, no concern. It just goes on. There is now much research focused on the development of autonomous robots. Autonomous means right, self-managed. These have to be fitted with sensors to enable the robot to take appropriate action depending on the information received from the sensors. The sensors are like input devices. When they give you either a picture or a infrared or some kind of thing, then the robot can take evasive actions if it's going to knock on something like that. This is an example of perception in AI. Perception. You perceive things like you sense from the outside world. The development of this concept is the driverless car. There are several examples available Uh, there are several examples available or in development, but so far they have only been able to perform limited tasks. So driverless car is very exciting, when you see. Right? It's very nice to see a driverless car. You might wonder how is this car going? So with all the sensors and all that are used. An example is the capability for a car to park itself in a vacant parking space. With the sensors, it's possible for it to find the correct place, the angle, the speed, everything, and then reasoning. There are examples of the application of AI where a program has been able to draw inferences like based on evidence, which is a requirement for reasoning. That is compulsory, a requirement for reasoning. Reasoning, you like find out the reason and get the correct conclusion. The best examples concern the proving of mathematical theorems. Attempts have also been made to develop techniques that can verify that software that has been created does indeed correctly and fully match the documented specification. Then the last one, uh, learning. We are learning about five. We said five. We will consider five aspects of intelligent human behavior. So problem solving, humans can do. Linguistics, perception, humans have. Reasoning. The last one is learning. A very special feature. This is currently a very uh, active area for the application of AI techniques. Machine learning is said to take place if a system that has a task to perform is seen to improve its performance as it gains experience. With the experience, past experience. Oh, the AI system has access to experience in the form of a massive set of data. Data plays a major role here in them. You may have heard big data, data banks, and data mining. Very, very important these data. By the use of appropriate statistical algorithms, the system learns from this data. One example is when the actions of users visiting websites to buy products are stored. Now, when you search for certain goods to buy, that data is stored. The AI system then attempts to identify appropriate products to be advertised when a user returns to the website. So the next time you return to that website, the items that you searched earlier, they're identified and stored. So like that, the AI can use it and be more productive. If sales progressively increase, there is evidence that learning is taking place. So if the sales increase due to this, then it's evidence because it's learning. Otherwise, it will give wrong advertisements and nothing happens. Another example is a program that investigates incoming emails and makes decisions as to whether these can be classified as spam and therefore should be refused entry to the user inbox. So that is like identified. Depending on the text and certain phrases used, you can decide whether it's spam or not.